Energy Sector Levies Act and the Certificate of Urgency, introducing a 1 cedi increase in the energy sector recovery levy. This decision, though difficult, is necessary and justifiable.
President John Dramani Mahama justified 1 Ghana cedi new levy on petroleum product, describing it as a move to keep the lights on. Meanwhile, MPP presidential candidate 2024 election, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, says Ghanaians should prepare for more taxes.
We more beba. By the time you be do 2028, Ghana nyina be hu say umutwa ntro bebre.
Also coming up.
Once they are not here, that is a difficulty. Those who have been replacing them, we need to have some experience. So yes, we are trying to help modifying, but it's quite a difficult one.
Withdrawal of OPD services by nurses begin to bite hard as patients are left stranded at various public hospitals across the country. And later on Eyewitness News.
276 constituencies, 275 have been declared, except Abloma North for 6 months now. Why? The good people of Abloma need representative in parliament.
Minority in Ghana's parliament petition Inspector General of Police to provide needed security for the declaration of the Abloma North parliamentary election results. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for these stories and more coming up in business.
Inflation falls sharply to 18.4% in May as transport cost eases.
Eyewitness News is live on our affiliates across the country. Around the globe, we are on citinewsroom.com. Talking about affiliates, if you are in the western region, you can hear us on Beach 105.5 FM and Sky 93.5 FM, both in Takrade. In the Bono region, you can hear us on Greener 95.9 FM in Sunyani. In the Ashanti region, Adrian Park 99.9 FM. As well as in the Volta region, you can hear us on Heritage 107.3 FM in Hohoi and Freedom 88.1 FM in Sogakope. In the Northern region, Radio Gaki 88.7 FM in Saboba. And in the Upper East region, you can hear us on Quality 88.7 FM in Garu. In the Northeast region, you can hear us on Nayuba 98.1 FM. You can also send us your text messages on 0549 986 996 0549 986 996. Fafa is our first story.
President John Dramani Mahama has justified government's decision to introduce a 1 cedi levy on petroleum product. Parliament yesterday approved the Energy Sector Levy Amendment Bill 2025, introducing a 1 Ghana cedi increase in the levy. The measure is expected to raise an additional 5.7 billion Ghana cedis to help reduce energy sector debt and support stable power supply. Speaking during the presentation of a report by the National Economic Dialogue Committee, President Mahama urged Ghanaians to embrace the move to help deal with the challenges in the energy sector.
Currently threatens national productivity and industrial growth. While we have devised a strategy to liquidate this debt and staunch the bleeding in the power sector, we must take advantage of recent gains created by appreciation in the value of our currency to accelerate the solution to our energy sector challenges. In line with the dialogue's recommendation to boldly tackle the crisis in the energy sector, Parliament yesterday approved an amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act and the Certificate of Urgency, introducing a 1 cedi, Ghana cedi, increase in the energy sector recovery levy. This decision, though difficult, is necessary and justifiable. The additional revenue projected is 5.7 billion cedis annually. This revenue will be strictly ring-fenced to pay down legacy energy debt, finance ongoing fuel purchase, and avert the risk of recurring power shortages. Funds from this levy will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. And the minister is here. I know when money falls into the consolidated fund, it faces certain hazards. It will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. The fund will be regularly audited and audit reports made public to ensure its transparent use. While initially much of this revenue will go into the purchase of fuel to ensure stable supply of electricity, with the ongoing developments in the upstream sector, we expect to receive more gas from our E&I Sankofa and Jubilee and 10 fields. With also the assurance of additional gas through the West African gas pipeline, we expect to substantially reduce the use of liquid fuels in our energy mix. At that stage, the resources generated by this increased levy will be channeled to pay down accumulated legacy debts in the power sector. With the recent gains in macro stability and strengthening of the Ghanaian cedi, this levy is not expected to result in any immediate fuel price increases at the pump. We are fully aware of the burden this will place on households and businesses, but I want to assure Ghanaians that this decision was not taken lightly.
You heard President John Dramani Mahama.
And we go on the phone lines and speak to Collins Adomako-Mensah. He's the deputy ranking member on the Energy Committee, a member of Parliament for Ifiagua North, and a former deputy energy minister under the MPP administration. Collins, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, good evening, my brother.
Collins, the president's justification is that there's a huge debt within the energy sector, and that debt must be settled. And the reason why this particular new levy has been introduced.
Well, I am quite surprised at the president's comments. And today I hear His Excellency John Dramani Mahama justifying an increment in taxes. That is quite strange. Just 2 months ago, during the national dialogue, whilst he was seated, the finance minister made a very categorical statement, and the video is available for everybody to watch, that he does not think that we should increase taxes to take care of the inefficiencies of ECG.
Hello, Collins. Collins, I'll be glad if you can position yourself. We are getting some terrible feedback from your end.
Yes, hello.
It's better now. Go ahead with the submission.
My point is that I'm surprised His Excellency is justifying an increment of taxes, because that was not his rhetoric a few months ago before the elections. 2 months ago, during the national dialogue, the finance minister made a very categorical statement that he does not intend to increase taxes in order to take care of the inefficiencies of ECG. So I'm surprised His Excellency is currently justifying an increment in taxes. That was not their rhetoric. And his voices are available for people to hear. He was very clear that the country was burdened and that there was no need to overburden the Ghanaian populace with more taxes. He himself, listening to him, did admit that this is going to bring some hardship to various households. So why is he justifying it? I'm surprised. You come to Parliament on the blind side of members of the minority, you introduce a bill on the order paper addendum, and then you say it should be treated as a matter of urgency. You call for a meeting with finance and leadership of the Energy Committee. At the minority side, we indicated that this was not urgent. We don't see why you should, as of now, burden the Ghanaian people, especially when the Ghanaian people are beginning to reap in the benefits of the appreciation of the cedi. We did indicate that point to them. Well, of course, they have the numbers. They bulldoze their way through it. We come to the plenary. We insisted that this is not right. Of course, they have the numbers. They bulldoze their way through it. You are charging 1 Ghana cedi per litre. And listeners should listen quite carefully to me. A litre, what it means is that every gallon of fuel that you buy, you pay as huge as 4 cedis 50 pesos. That is the implication of this particular levy. E-levy that they oppose to rakes in 2.1 billion, the whole of 2024. This particular bill is estimated to rake in 5.7 billion. That's twice the amount of money we got from e-levy. You cannot be picking from with your left hand and giving out with your right hand. That is not how governance is. And that is not what we were told before we went to the polls.
But Collins, I've heard the energy minister say that this particular amount that's going to be charged will first of all help to settle the debt within the energy sector and also help in the purchasing of crude, because he's told us that almost every month government or Ghana spends close to 1.6 billion cedis just to buy crude to power our generators. So this particular levy will help buy this crude and also settle the debt within the energy sector.
Well, I keep getting even more surprised, because this energy sector bill came to Parliament in March of this year when Dr. Atto Forson was presenting his budget. This was the same reason he gave on his memorandum to the bill, that he's restructuring the whole energy sector levy bills to ensure that we pay our legacy debts. You cannot then turn back within just 2 months after introducing the bill to increase the taxes through an amendment. The reasons you are just espousing here, it was the same reason that were exposed when the budget was being presented. What has changed within 2 months? What has changed?
But Collins, the government has also said that there will be no need with this particular bill. It doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be an increment in the prices of fuel. So the price we are buying now, there won't be any significant change, or there won't be any change at all. So why really worry about it if it won't lead to...
That is the most shocking aspect of the whole explanation.
You believe it's going to... Hold on, Collins. You believe there's going to be an increment in prices of fuel?
I'm saying that is the shocking part of his explanation. We all know the components that lead to the pump price. One of which is the exchange rate. The other is the levies that we are talking about. If the exchange rate is now trading positively, and therefore there's a reduction at that particular end, and you think that because the individual or the populace are making some windfall on the basis of the exchange rate differentials, and you think that what they have, the rainfall that has come to them, you want to take part of it and give it to government, and you think that is not a burden on the Ghanaian people? I'm trying to understand the whole logic, the whole explanation. Let's say a petrol is 10 cedis. What culminates into the 10 cedis are maybe exchange rate, which about maybe 5%, levies is about 10% and all that. Now you're having some rainfall on exchange rate. Instead of you to leave that for the consumer to benefit from it, the 3 cedis or 4 cedis that the consumer is now benefiting because of the exchange rate, you are saying that, hey, that 3 cedis that you are benefiting from, give me 1 cedi out of it. And you say that is not a burden on the Ghanaian people, especially when just last month you increased electricity by 14.7%, especially when last month you increased water by 4.02%. And you think this is not going to be a burden on the taxpayer? What kind of explanation is this, my brother?
Okay, Collins, I'll say a big thank you for your time. Collins Adumakwa Mensah is Deputy Ranking Member on the Energy Committee and Member of Parliament for Eyewitness North in the Ashanti region, and also a former Deputy Minister of Energy. On this matter still, the flag bearer of the MPP in the 2024 general election and former Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has also been speaking on this matter. As you know, he's in the central region, continuing with his thank you tour. When he met party executive and party supporters today in the central region, Dr. Bawumia says Ghanaians should prepare for more taxes in the coming days.
NDC for Omuchan Trobebre every day, Obie Entra Omuchan. And now you somebody in Amo, Omo di Dumso levy aba. Dumso levy. Dumso levy. So first, almost e levy. Na yedi aba. Omo be e levy, no omo be ye. And then omo di Dumso levy aba. It is 8 times the e levy. Omo ansusuan yo. And then uto 1 liter of petrol, 1 cedi no ubetia. Uto 1,000 cedis of petrol, ubetia 83 cedis. 83 cedis as tax. 11 no usende obi 1,000 momwa ubetia 10 cedis. Omu and then ubetia 4,000 ubetia 83 cedis for fuel. We nimina more beba. By the time you be do 2028 no Ghana nyina be hu se omutwa ntro bebre mimi gidi se omube kan kire yen se yensan ba bio embefa aban no ensiesie Ghana.
You heard Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. He's a former Vice President and the flag bearer of the MPP in the 2024 general election. He's in the central region continuing with his thank you tour, which he started some weeks ago. Basically, what the vice president or former vice president is saying that the NDC lied its way to power with the introduction of what he called Doomsday levy, and that Ghanaians should expect more of these taxes in the coming days. He compared this particular levy to e-levy, and he says that in the era of e-levy, you will pay lower charges compared to the new levy that has been introduced by this administration. You intend to pay more compared to the introduction of e-levy, which his government brought in the latter part of 2023 and 2024. Let's stay on this matter. Let's speak to Kwesi Yamwa. He's a policy lead for climate finance and energy transition at the Institute of Climate and Environmental Governance. Kwesi, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Sami.
First of all, the justification from government is that there's a huge debt within the energy sector. There's a need to clear this particular debt, and so this policy or the introduction of this new levy will help, offset part of this debt, and also help government get enough resources to buy crude to power our generators.
Right. Okay. Like we indicated earlier, paying our debt, our energy debt.
See, I can hardly hear you. I'm getting a terrible feedback from your end. If you can reposition yourself, I'll be glad.
Is it okay now?
It's better.
Okay. So, what I was saying is that, like we indicated in our press release, it is not a bad move for the government to pay energy debt or the legacy debt that we have. That is definitely the intention of introducing the levy. But like we said earlier, of what use will it be when we have scrapped off several, let's say, I wouldn't say taxes, but then there has been a drastic reduction in oil prices at least for almost like a month now. And then here we are experiencing an increase in oil prices. As it stands now, the least oil price or OMC that I know of is selling around 11.77. And we are expected to pay a Citi extra. What would this be, or what would it cost the ordinary person? That is what we should be looking at from that perspective. That's the perspective I want us to be looking at it from. So one, we advise government in time past that we should be very prudent in managing the energy resources or revenues that we generate from our resources and ensure that it is being put to good use. If these were done in time past, and in time past I mean that successive government, both the NDC and the MPP, have been in government before, because the ESLA was introduced in 2015, and then it has been, 2021 there was an amendment, and then there is another amendment now. This amendment seeks to place a 1 Cedi additional value to whatever we are paying. But like I indicated earlier, if I'm buying fuel, or I'm buying petrol or diesel at 11 Cedi 77 pesos, and I'm required to pay a 1 Cedi, for how long is this expected to last? We have been assured by the finance minister that at least this would be constant for the next window, implying that after the next window, knowing very well that oil prices are volatile and then are not controlled by the domestic market, we would have to definitely go back to square one. At the end of the day, we have made certain gains in the energy sector, i.e. the petroleum sector that we're talking about. And then we were purchasing at a point in time, fuel had skyrocketed to almost like 14 Ghana cedis per liter. And we are, by God's grace, we are now buying it at 11 Cedi 77 pesos. And we are now going to add another 1 Cedi to it. Mind you, it was for similar reasons that the tariff was reviewed. By tariff review, I mean that electricity tariff was reviewed. Why was it done? It was done because at the time, our dollar was our city was depreciating to the dollar, and then two, we were also buying fuel at high prices. Fuel international prices was up by then. By God's grace, it has come down to around $65.64 compared to same time last year, where it was almost like $79.98 or so. So what we are essentially saying is that Ghanaians would have been very willing to pay if the increment was very marginal. But however, as it stands now, if I'm going to pay a liter, for every liter, I'm going to pay 1 cedi. It implies that if I'm buying about 20 liters, I'm going to pay 20 cedis for that, which I think that it will be a burden to us. Secondly, we should also think about it. Our disposable income is constant. We have not experienced any form of increase in our disposable income, implying that if I'm being paid 700 Ghana cedis, it is this same 700 Ghana cedis that I'm going to use to purchase goods and services. It means that I am going to be short of 1 cedi if I'm supposed to be used the same amount of money to purchase fuel. That is for a liter. So somehow it brings some untold hardships onto us at Ghana.
Madam Kwesi, the finance minister and the president have, publicly stated that this particular levy will not lead to an increment in prices of fuel at the pump, because they believe that the recent appreciation of the cedi and other measures put in place by government will not really lead to Ghanaians really feeling it in their pockets. So there won't be any increment in fuel prices.
Okay, that is on paper, but then the reality, like I mentioned some few minutes ago, is that we do not control oil prices. We might do our simulations right, but then as much as the oil prices are regulated by the international market, where we have less control, there is little that you can do if price begins to surge. So for instance, when the tariff review was being done, the dollar was pegged around 15.64, I think. Around that time, we were expecting that the dollar would have escalated, but what have we experienced? We are rather seeing a decline, meaning that the market, though predictable, is not always predictable. It fluctuates. So as much as we are saying that we are not going to feel the impact at the present time, in the subsequent windows when the oil prices begin to surge up, what alternatives have been put in place? For that, we do not know as Ghanaians. So if the government could communicate to us as civil society organizations and as Ghanaians and make us understand that this is what we have in store for you, at least we have been assured that for the next window we are not going to experience any surge, and then we are not going to feel it at the pump. If we are not going to feel it at the pump, how then are we going to pay for that 1 Ghana? That is the question that we should be asking.
But finally, before I let you go, do you think you agree with people who have made the call that government should give a clear timeline or a period of time that government intends to charge this particular levy, and so if the purpose of it is achieved, then government can go back to the old setting? You think there should be that time frame, that period of time?
There certainly should be. In fact, this was an argument I was having with a colleague behind the scenes, and then he also subscribed to the same. I also believe in the same as well. But here we are in a country where mostly when tariffs or levies or taxes are introduced, it now becomes difficult to scrap up because it now becomes a constant source of revenue for the government of the day. Assuming this is going to be a temporal measure, I don't believe that most of us will be up in arms talking against this policy. Assuming there's a timeline of, okay, we are just going to do this for 6 months or 8 months, then we know that for these 8 months, as much as it is difficult to pay 1 cedi per liter, we would avail ourselves and then pay as much as it is uncomfortable for us. However, there is no strict timeline, implying that it takes the discretion of the politician to tell us that at this point in time, I'm going to scrap it off. That is what it is at the moment, which I think does not help. At least if Ghanaians know that for this period of time, the taxes or the levy that is being placed on us on the petroleum product, we are going to pay till this period of time, then we could make adequate preparation towards that. Because whether we like it or not, petroleum product is the only product that affects majority of everything that we do, the goods and services. It affects almost every goods and service that we have. Quite recently, we've had industries declaring that or making their intentions known that they have reduced the prices of their commodities. It was because of the gains we were making from the city. And then it was because of the drastic reduction in petroleum prices, because some of these organizations are into supply chain as well. But here we are going, there is no definite period, and so it becomes a bit challenging or difficult to put ourselves together, so to speak.
Kwesi, thank you very much. Kwesi Yamwa is Policy Lead, Climate Finance and Energy Transition at the Institute of Climate and Environmental governance. Speaking to us there. This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. In a short while, we'll speak to the GPRTU to also get their take on this. Already we've been told that there's not going to be an increment in fuel prices by government, but then will the GPRTU listen to this, or they will also increase prices of fares as this particular levy has come in. In a short while, we'll speak to the GPRTU on this particular matter. But then Fafa has some related. But before that, let's do some text messages. They've come in thick and fast. Akata Raymond from Agotime Poita says, MPP left over 70 billion cedis debt at the energy sector. Where do they want the government to get money to pay this debt? Their lamentation is shallow and they should give us a break. Atukwe Kwe from Accra says, is Dr. Bawumia and the MPP leaders really in opposition? They are even worse in opposition when we hear them talk. Majority of Ghanaians are in good faith to pay the energy cost because we know our taxes will not go waste under this government. Now from Nadoli says, it is quite interesting to hear the MPP talk about taxes. If one city will give us stable power, so be it. This petty politics will not help us. Let's speak to the GPRTU. Abbas Moro is Industrial Relations Officer for the union. Good evening, Alhaji. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, and thank you for calling.
I'm sure you've heard about this particular levy which government has introduced. We are told that it will take effect in some short time to come. The assurance is that it's not going to lead to an increment in the prices at the pump. So it means that we are not likely to see any price increase as far as transport fare is concerned. That's the argument people are making. But people also say that if there's going to be an increment, then likely that transport fares will go up. Is that the case from your side?
Well, we are not clear with their explanation, because if we are going to take 1 cedi on the liter, that is not small money. And therefore, we are going to use this money to defray some debts. Where are they going to take the money from? And how are we going to pay? We are yet to get clear explanation towards that. So we are on our way doing some small research to come up with whatever decision we also take on it, because it's going to be a blow to us. We just reduce our lorry fares by 15% with some understanding. Yes, the first window, we've seen the downwards of the fuel and thinking, yes, understanding of which we reduce the fare by 15% is going to materialize just for the next day to hear another thing. I mean, it is something we need to get a clear understanding, and we see our way forward. You just can't tell us we are not going to pay on the pump, but you are going to get your money all right. And 1 cedi on a liter, it means a lot to a professional driver, because each time fuel prices are reduced, we get a lot of breathing space. But that money most often is not the professional driver himself, which brings some relief to the driver. So we are here to get a clear understanding, then we know what to do.
Have you had any engagement with government yet on this particular issue?
They haven't. They should have engaged us. Because we just reduced lorry fare just yesterday for them to say they've forgotten to engage us. We are not the only people using fuel. But as professional drivers, we use the fuel a lot, and it means a lot to us. So at least they shouldn't have forgotten to have any discussion with us so that we get a better understanding. But they haven't done that, and maybe we'll also tell them we can do some small calculations.
Alhaji, thank you very much. Abbas Moro is the Industrial Relations Officer for the GPRTU. and speaking on this matter. This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Sami Wiafi, and tonight I'm here with Fafa Melody. Let's read some of your text messages as well. This one is coming from BB in North Kanesh. She says, NPP just appear to be unhappy with the government not allowing the energy sector to collapse for their anticipated doomsday to occur. So how were they expecting the government to pay the debt they created? Alasa says, I fully support the finance minister call for each of us to contribute just 1 cedi to help settle the energy sector debt inherited from the previous administration. Joseph from Bongo says, looking at the good things this government is doing, no, can't you give us at least 1 cedi for us to buy water? Sami Nadenta says, who is to believe the former Vice President Dr. Bawumia, who said there will not be any levy but kept quiet when it was introduced? He should give us a break. Jonas Adobo in La says, good evening, Sami. As much as I agree that the 1 Ghana cedi energy levy slap on Ghanaians is unwelcome, we must also not lose sight of the fact that the rot left by the previous administration is a big one and needs to be tackled with alacrity before we are put into a very serious energy problem. This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We go for a quick break. When we come back, we have more stories.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Afternoon.
Oh, afternoon.
Please, Momo.
Deposit or withdrawal?
Withdrawal.
Ah, I like how you say withdrawal. How much?
500 Ghana.
Why allow cash out?
Yes.
I feel ball number no mami why?
0241 789.
Ah, nice one. Approve.
Please, the agent's name, is it Mipiska Bebre to Coin Ventures?
Hey, into what body you na?
She. My let into. I have to verify.
Always confirm the name of the person you are receiving money from before accepting a request. If you receive a request from a friend to send money to an unfamiliar number, call to confirm before taking action. Do not share your number with strangers for the purpose of receiving e-cash in exchange for physical cash, because the source could be criminal and result in legal actions against you.
MTN.
Polytank is everywhere, durable and authentic. Stronger brand you can trust. Polytank, we get Sumo, Rambo, and get Sumo Super. And the Polytank, we did. Polytank, Papa no, Papa no, Papa no, Papa no, Papa no, Alcasa. Polytank, the original, always the best.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is still Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Let's do other stories now. The minority in Parliament has petitioned the Inspector General of Police over the Electoral Commission's delay in declaring the parliamentary election results for the Abloma North constituency. The constituency has remained without representation since the December 7, 2024 elections, as the two major political parties continue to contest the authenticity of the results. Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre called on the police to provide the necessary protection to the Electoral Commission to enable it to declare the results.
On behalf of the members of the Minority Caucus of the Parliament of Ghana, to formally petition your outfit or your office over the continued failure to provide the adequate security required by the Electoral Commission in order to collate and declare the parliamentary results of the Abloma North constituency following the 2024 general elections. And I'll proceed to give a bit of a background. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana's democratic journey, built over 3 decades of constitutional rule, has been defined by peaceful transitions and credible elections. The 2024 general elections were affirmed by both domestic and international observers, including the European Union Election Expert Mission. as largely credible and reflective of Ghana's democratic commitments. Yet, the Abloma North constituency stands out as a shocking exception. Ladies and gentlemen, since December 2024, the parliamentary results have not been declared, thereby denying the people of Abloma North their right to representation under the 1992 Constitution. This is without precedent in the Fourth Republic and constitutes a serious blot on our democratic record.
Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompe.
Meanwhile, the MPP parliamentary candidate in that particular election, Ekwefri, has also been speaking. He joined the minority members to the police headquarters to present this petition.
Perfect. Perfect. If you won, would you say they should rerun? If you were the one who won, will you say they should rerun? You know the King Solomon issue. We won the election hands down. And so there isn't going to be any rerun. We have the pin sheet. We have every evidence. We've collated with their agent throughout 6 times. And this is where we are. So if you were the one who won, will you suggest there should be a rerun? That's my question.
Ekwefri is the MPP parliamentary candidate in the Abloma North constituency in the 2024 general election. Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Doc, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, my brother. Let me say good evening to your cherished listeners across Ghana.
First of all, the MPP parliamentary candidate, Ekwefri, believes that she won this election, and so she should be declared as the winner of this parliamentary election held in December 2024. The MPP, the minority, also petitioned the police asking for protection for a declaration of the result to be done because they believe and feel that they have won this election.
My brother, they should be dismissed with the contempt they deserve. Look, these people don't, look, you don't supposed to give them any modicum of listening at all. Look, in fact, the IGP should have arrested them. Do you know that what they did borders on criminality on the day that they were declaring the 59 polling stations out of the 62 polling stations? When the Electoral Commission invited their presiding officers to come and authenticate their scanned copies, do you know that some of the presiding officers were running away from the scanned copies brought by the MPP because they had gone to fake figures into the onto the pink sheets? In fact, on record, live cameras, one of the presiding officers told them that, look, my pink sheet at my polling station, I never had a figure like a rejected ballot. Today, you have brought me a scanned copy that had rejected ballot. It's not my pink sheet. Another person came and said, this is not my signature. That means that some level of criminality was conducted by the MPP. They sat in their office and cooked their own pink sheets and scanned them. Look, CI 127 has nothing to do with scanned copies. We are talking of original copies, and then we are also talking of carbon copies given to political parties. Since the EC says they don't have the original copies, they have lost all their listing. Why? How come they want to rely on the MPP scanned copies to declare them? These are people who have fake figures, fake pink sheets, fake everything, and brought it as scanned copies for the EC to try to declare. We won't accept it. In fact, we are also going to petition the IGP to arrest them, because altering a public document is a crime. And they must arrest them.
And you believe that was done? That was what was done?
That was. But you saw your cameras even captured it on that day. Your camera, didn't you see your cameras or said that some of the presiding officers were saying that this is not my pink sheet. I didn't sign this. These figures on it, they are not my pink sheets. Who did it? If the one who signed the thing entered the figures now come to say that I am not the one who did this, it means somebody cooked it on his behalf. And therefore, those people should be arrested.
Doc,
I'm saying that the IGP should arrest them.
Doc, as a Democrat yourself, I not worried that 6 months down the line, the people of Abloma North do not have a representation in Parliament.
Look, we always say democracy is a costly business because we always want to do the right thing. That is why we say it's a costly business. The people voted for a particular candidate to represent them. The people didn't vote for somebody who will go and sit in her room and manufacture pink sheets and bring it publicly to tell the whole world that they must accept it. The Electoral Commission must accept those fake pink sheets. and use it to declare themselves winners. That is what the NPP is trying to do. The people voted. Look, SAR was there. We were not in this country for 4 years. A whole constituency never had a representation in parliament. What were these MPP doing? They are people who were talking plenty and did the marching to the police station. Were they not in parliament?
But Doc, we all condemn that. We all condemn that. We thought that really wasn't right. So should there be a repetition of something we all condemned?
There is no repetition here. There is no repetition here. We are talking of 62 polling stations. We have problem with the 62 polling stations. Let's go and rerun elections for the 62 polling stations. The winner will be declared from it. What is the problem? Is it a big deal? We went and did a by-election in Citi North. Did we break heads? Didn't they also do their own by-election at the Yisu after they have poisoned their own MP?
Oh, how?
Minister.
Doc, how? How? You have evidence? No, Doc, hold on. This is national radio.
Are you talking of evidence?
Doc, hold on. Doc, Dr. Tanko, this is national radio. We know,
okay,
and for you to say
you didn't hear it, I withdraw. That's all. If you say you didn't hear it, I withdraw. Finish. Let's go. But I'm saying that the gentleman died. Everybody knew that he died, and they went and did a by-election there. Is it not true? Didn't you go and do it? Finish. Matter finish. And I'm saying that 62 polling stations, is it a difficulty to go and conduct election in 62 polling stations? Why is the MPP so interested in this, their own scan copies to be used to declare them winners? Why? Why is Ghanaians not asking them these questions?
Doc, what's the way forward? How do we resolve this particular issue for the people of Abloma North to have a representation in Parliament? How do we address this issue so we don't have a repetition of SAR?
We have made our position very clear, and we made it strongly to government as a party. We made it to government. We made it to the IGP the last time we met him, and we made it to the Peace Council that, look, we are very free and friendly in terms of democratic culture. We don't want any problem whatsoever, but we are saying that let's follow through CI 127, which is very clear. When you have difficulties in a polling station or that thing, go and do a rerun. We did it in Akotia under Afarajan. We went to rerun a polling station 3 at Akotia. This is not the first time we are doing rerun for polling stations. And I'm saying that now that we are talking of 62 polling stations, EC agree they don't have. We are truthful to ourselves as a political party, NDC. We also told them, yes, we lost ours during the melee. So we are truthful. This our opponent. In fact, they are my friends. My opponent, MPP. They now want to go and do Piccadilly. That's a 419 way of doing things. Trying to scan copies and bring it, force it on EC, and then the EC to want to use that one to declare them. We will not accept it. The way forward is to go and have a rerun of those 62 polling stations. By 5 o'clock, the winner would have been declared, and everybody would be at peace. But to follow MPP on their trap, to go and use their scan copies to want to declare an illegal person as winner, that one, their NDC, we won't accept it.
Rerun of the 62 polling station. What about the argument that let's run the entire constituency again, run the entire election again?
Oh, no, that entire constituency, that one there is far-fetched. We can't do that because those other polling stations, there was no problem. That one, all the parties that participated, we all agreed to those polling stations. There's no issues of that. The issues are just the 62 polling stations, which all the political parties, it's not only MPP or NDC, there were other parties who are involved. They all agreed that, yes, the issues are the 62 polling stations. Let's go and deal with it. And then to have our peace of mind, they will get a candidate. The winner will go and sit and represent Abloma North. That is what the NDC is looking for. We don't want an illegal person to represent them. The people voted for somebody. They didn't vote for somebody who will use a backdoor means to get into the house. The house should not be represented by an illegality.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Tango, Computer, Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Fafa has some more stories.
Medical care has been disrupted at major health facilities in the Ashanti region as patients bear the brunt of the strike by members of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. At the Menchia South Suntreso and Kumasi South hospitals, as well as other health centers, healthcare delivery has slowed across key departments and units. Major departments such as the family planning and special clinics at the Mencia Hospital have been closed with no activity observed and red bands tied at the entrances. Deputy Chief Medical Officer at the Mencia Government Hospital, Dr. Eduwache, has expressed concern about the impact of the strike.
Because normally we'll have quite a large number. I think because of the announced strike by the rotational nurses as well as affecting the nurses, many of them came in the morning and thought they were not coming, so they had to leave back home. But later on, we had some ad hoc arrangement to get these non-nursing staff to help. That's why we are able to clear, but it's still quite difficult. We will need them to come back necessarily.
So let's look at the impact so far. Which of the areas particularly are you getting affected?
Yeah, when somebody comes in, we need to triage the patient. That is, we need to know their vitals, the BP, the fasting blood or running, their weight, their height, and this is all done by our nurses. Once they are not here, that is a difficulty. Those who have been replacing them, we need to have some experience. So yes, we are trying to help modifying, but it's quite a difficult one. So the most impact is from the triage. It's quite a difficult one.
But are you getting complaints from patients?
Yeah, of course, they are talking about delays. Usually if our nurses are here, they call them in tandem. But now they are not here, so a lot of delays. And so you are in your room, they walk in, they say, "Maba, monsheme." So that's making quite a negative impact.
Dr. Eduwache is Deputy Chief Medical Officer at the Mencia Government Hospital.
Let's go to the phone lines and speak to Philemon Japon. He's the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Good evening, Mr. Japon. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening and good evening to your listeners.
It looks like your strike is beginning to bite harder because across the country, nurses are not found at the outpatients department in these public hospitals, including the Kolebu, the biggest hospital, preferably in Ghana, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Your nurses are not working and the patients are feeling the brunt of this strike.
Precisely. I think we've communicated on the platforms and communicated to government that as soon as we pull out from service, the impact will be overwhelming and we wouldn't want to get to that crossroad. Unfortunately, we are here.
What is it that you can't really negotiate with government and get you back to work? Because in all this, it is the ordinary Ghanaian who is suffering.
Precisely the reason why we heightened this strike action, the roadmap was so elastic that the government or the employer had the opportunity to, at all points, seize to make sure that we don't get to this point. The negotiated conditions of service has been signed by Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, by the Ministry of Health, by the Ministry of Finance. They had reps on these negotiations. And once we have done with the negotiation, and others who came to negotiate this after hours have gone ahead to get it implemented and are enjoying it, it is not any different than that we press home what is due nurses and midwives.
What really are you demanding for the benefit of Ghanaians who do not know the demands you are putting across? What really are you looking for?
All right, so we call something uniform allowance. It's already existing in our conditions of service, and the uniform allowance, a certain amount is paid annually. So every year the government gives us a token towards that. We negotiated and it has been improved a little. The difference of that has not been paid. We call something on-call facilitating allowance. Our colleagues that find themselves in places where they have to be called back to work every now and then due some allowance that has been agreed by government that is supposed to be paid. That has been signed, agreed, is not been implemented. We call something rural incentive allowance. The rural incentive allowance is for our colleagues working in the rural areas. And these areas are hard to reach. They are cut off from their families and their relatives. And because of that, they are due some component of allowance. It is not paid. We call something the continuous professional development allowance. So these and many others, it's not a massive allowance. It's just little increase over what we were previously enjoying, and just a few ones that are new, like the book and research allowance for the teachers. So these are the allowances that have been signed and agreed that the government has failed to implement.
When you declared this particular strike, or you made public the roadmap, there were other sister groups within the nursing profession who also said they were not going to be a part of this strike, to the extent that we're told that police personnel or even national security officers have been sent to the various public hospitals to protect these nurses who may defy your directive and still go ahead with the strike, as far as your members are concerned. How is your engagement with these sister groups which also decided to defy your orders?
We don't have any engagements with them. They were members of GRNMA and they have broken out of the association. And they are in the minority. There are just a few crop of people. Unfortunately, the conditions of service is for nurses and midwives. And because of that, it is only their leaders who are saying that they are not passed and then they are going to work. When you go to the outpatient department in almost all the hospitals that we visited, it was virtually empty. They were not there to work. Their members feel they are a part and they are going to enjoy the same conditions of service we are fighting for. And they are calling some of their leaders hypocrites. I can share some of the videos and some of the pictures their own members did and some of the letters they shared on social media with you as proof. So they have all joined in the strike. Nobody is there to intimidate or call somebody to get to strike. It's not a force. People know what is due them. People know what the relevance of this action will bring to them, and that is why they have joined suit.
Mr. Japon, for the sake of the ordinary Ghanaian, we urge you to continue your engagement with government so you can call off this strike, because this is just a withdrawal of OPD services. On the 9th of June, you are saying that you are doing a total withdrawal, which may affect the majority of Ghanaians who visit these public hospitals. So for the sake of the ordinary Ghanaian, please continue your negotiations with government so that you can call off this strike, because it's beginning to bite hard.
My brother, for the sake of Ghanaians, we are ready to call off the strike even tomorrow morning, provided the government will, for the sake of Ghanaians, heed to the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian nurse and midwife who is sacrificing his life to save life wherever they find themselves.
Thank you very much. Philmo Japon is the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Fafa has some more stories.
The Ministry of Health has appealed to the Ghana Registered and Midwives Association to call off its industrial action for further negotiations on their demands. In an interview with Citi News, spokesperson for the ministry, Tony Goodman, called on the striking union to grant government ample time for a reconsideration of the agreement.
Whether or not it will be signed in its current state, it's also another matter. We have to disseminate whatever it is in a document. The document is not solely signed by the Minister for Health. It has to be signed by the Minister for Finance, who pays some amount of money, the Labour Ministry, the fair wages. And then we as a ministry, we have to also inform our agencies who will implement portion of this document. You will have hospitals paying parts. Just imagine that a health center or a chips company far away somewhere must pay some amount of money to workers at the end of the year, would have to renew their PIN, we have to do certain things. We must find out whether truly what we are signing to can be implemented. If you sign it today and it's not implemented, it means that the problem has just been created and is waiting for you to explode. That is what we are trying to avoid. I want the nurses or the leadership of the nurses to see reason with the Minister for Health and the Minister for Finance.
You heard spokesperson for the Ministry of Health, Tony Goodman. Now, Eastern Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Mark Oliver Kevo, is appealing to the party's leadership to lead efforts toward making the June 4 uprising a nationally recognized event. According to him, the day is as significant as any other national occasion, as it marked the awakening of the moral consciousness of Ghanaians against corruption and injustice 64 years ago. He believes it deserves national recognition as a holiday. Dr. Kevo made the call while addressing a gathering at the 46th anniversary celebration of the June 4 uprising at the Agomanya Lassie Park in the Eastern region.
Comrades, June 4th is not just a date, it is a spirit, a moral compass, and a reminder that leadership must always serve the people and not itself. National Chairman, General Secretary, many of young people who are in government, who are in party positions, did not have the opportunity to live the June 4th experience. And such occasions like this gives us the opportunity to relearn and remind ourselves of the consequences of an injustice society. I would therefore appeal to National Chairman, General Secretary to find a way of making this occasion mandatory for government officials, for party officials to attend, and make consequences thereof for not attending such occasions. I think we must retake June 4th seriously if we believe that accountability, probity are part of our core principles, and that we lose our identity as a party if these principles, we lose sight of these principles and these core values.
That was the Eastern Regional Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Mark Oliver Kevo. Meanwhile, Deputy Interior Minister and Member of Parliament for Lower Manya Krobo, Ebenezer Oklite-Telabi, has urged citizens to pursue an inclusive democracy, bridge divides, and commit to peace and development.
Today, let us recommit ourselves to the ideals that fueled the revolution. Let us strive for Ghana, where every citizen can participate in the democratic process, where our rights are upheld, and where the spirit of unity and justice prevail. A Ghana where opportunities are available for all, not just the privileged few, and where hard work and dedication are rewarded. As we honor the legacy of June 4, let us carry forward the touch of responsibility. Let us build bridges across our differences, fostering dialogue and understanding in our active participation and commitment for the greater good. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, let us always remember this day not only for its historical significance, but as a reminder of the sacrifices made for our freedom. May we honor those who fought for a better Ghana by striving to make our country a place where liberty, justice, and opportunity flourish for all.
You heard the Deputy Interior Minister and Member of Parliament for Lower Manya Krobo, Ebenezer Oklite-Telabi.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens. Hot pepper powder. This advert is FDA approved.
Charlie, where are you?
Boss man, I'm at the bank.
Really? But your car is in front of your house.
Bro, my bank on my phone, Charlie.
Oh, how?
EcoBank, bro. With EcoBank mobile app, I can do everything, anywhere, anytime. Listen, I just checked my account balance, paid Ahmed's school fees, and sent money to my grandma at Walwale.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Masa, just download the EcoBank mobile app from the Google Play Store or the App Store, or dial *770# and be your own bank manager.
Manager.
Whether to pay bills or fees, to check account statements, send money across Ghana, abroad, and more, EcoBank mobile app has got it covered. EcoBank Mobile, making everyday people live everyday lives the EcoBank way. EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Melody Fafa. But to fair, the details of our stories now. Ghana's inflation rate fell sharply to 18.4% year-on-year in May 2025. This is down from the 21.2% recorded in April and marks the lowest rate since February 2022. It also extends the country's disinflation trend into its fifth consecutive month as the rate nearly halves from its 2022 peaks. The Ghana Statistical Service attributes the significant decline to reductions in transport fares and a marked slowdown in non-food inflation, signaling a sustained easing in the pace at which consumer prices are rising. Dr. Alassane Idrisu, government statistician, has been explaining factors that played a major role in cooling inflationary pressures in May.
For May 2025 stood at 18.4%, and this 18.4% shows a decline by 2.8 percentage points from April 2025 inflation of 21.2% and a 4.7 percentage point drop over the 12-month period from May 2024 inflation of 23.1%, signaling notable easing of inflationary pressures. This suggests that price increases are slowing down compared to last year, an encouraging development for households' budgets and economic stability. The monthly inflation between April 2025 and May 2025 was 0.7%, slightly down from the 0.8% recorded in April 2025.
You heard government statistician Dr. Alassane Idrisu. Now, government is appealing to independent power producers, IPPs, to reduce their production cost over recent improvements in the economy. Energy and Green Transition Minister John Jinapor says negotiations with IPPs will focus on passing on gains from the stabilization of the cedi to consumers. This comes as the government defends its newly approved 1 Ghana cedi per litre fuel levy, with Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin insisting the measure is crucial to clearing a $3.7 billion energy sector debt and funding fuel procurement for power generation. Speaking on the Citi Breakfast Show, Minister John Jinapor said the levy will help keep the lights on.
We've constituted a committee to re-engage all these IPPs. The previous government did some work, but we believe that we can push it further. And so we've sent communication to most of the IPPs that we are in this together. If they continue to play hard, eventually the sector will go down and all of us will suffer. So let me use your medium, which goes very far, and appeal to the IPPs that when they come to the table, let's all be reasonable. We've paid a lot of money to the IPPs, and I've seen the modeling, which shows that they've received a lot of money. This is the time for them to also make sacrifices for the people of Ghana so we can continue to work with them. And that's exactly what we are doing. We've also decided that going forward, all power purchase agreements should be done through competitive process. We require about 300 megawatts of solar. Cabinet has approved that we should open it up, make it competitive, make it transparent, and get the best value for money.
You heard Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor. The Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana is demanding that President John Mahama immediately cancels what it describes as a redundant and financially wasteful contract between the Ghana Revenue Authority and SML. The association alleges the deal is costing the state over $1.4 million every month. Executive Secretary Samson Asaki-Awingobid says the downstream petroleum monitoring deal persists despite a 2024 presidential directive suspending part of SML's operations. He insisted the SML contract duplicates services already handled by MPA and urged full disclosure of payment made to the company since 2018.
terminate the SML downstream petroleum contract with immediate effect because MPA has their own system. In addition, the fully published KPMG audit report make public all payments made to SML since 2018. Cover all monies paid for services deemed redundant, unverified and unsupported by performance data. President Mahama should let Minister of Energy, Minister of Finance, GRA, MPA, they should blacklist SML and investigate all current and former officials involved in the contract. Legislate reforms to prohibit sole source contract in public revenue assurance with mandatory parliamentary oversight. These are not radical demands. They are the bare minimum expected in a country that claims to be committed to good governance, and I know President Mahama meant business. Ghana deserves better. This contract is not just line item in the budget. It is a symbol of how political privileges, secrecy, and insider deals can undermine the progress of a whole nation. We are calling on Parliament, civil society, the Auditor General, the OSP, the diplomatic community, and all patriotic citizens to support this call for truth, justice, and fiscal responsibility.
You heard Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asaki Awingobit. Now, MTN Ghana has rolled out the 2025 edition of its flagship employee volunteer initiative, 21 Days of Yellow Care, with a renewed focus on closing the digital divide through community-based digital literacy and infrastructure project. Chief Executive Officer Stephen Blewett says the initiative reflects MTN's broader commitment to digital inclusion. He also reaffirmed the company's resolve to improve service quality following a directive by Communications Minister Samuel Nati George giving mobile network operators until December 31st, 2025 to significantly enhance service delivery or face sanctions.
When I went to Aburi last year, and since then, you get to see what a difference we make when we do this, and that's the heartwarming thing out of this 21 days of yellow care. Me too. But no, it's fine. I'll answer it. The reality is that we are a growing business. Ghanaians love MTN Ghana. Let's be clear. Every one of you will say this is our network, and it is, because 30% of MTN Ghana is listed on the stock exchange and owned by Ghanaians. So we take the quality of service as a very important thing. This year, we originally said we'd spend 250. We'll spend over 300 million this year. So we're never going to be happy until the best possible service. No CEO is going to say I'm happy with average quality of service. So I'm absolutely committed as a business. This year, over 300 million. Means by the end of this year we will have spent over $1 billion in the 5 years, and that's how you do it. The reality is our industry is changing all the time. People require more, need more data, need more experience, and we will never stop until we get the best quality service. So we're investing. It will change, that I can promise you.
Right. How do you respond to that?
Stephen Blewett is Chief Executive Officer of MTN Ghana. With the Ghana Citi showing renewed strength, the Bank of Ghana is shifting attention to remittance inflows as a key pillar for sustaining currency stability. Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama says the central bank is developing mechanisms to fully capture and optimize remittance earnings, mirroring the success of the Gold for Reserves initiative in the gold export sector. Speaking at the AGI Corporate Forum in Accra, Dr. Isiama said properly harnessed remittances could serve as a reliable foreign exchange buffer to complement ongoing macroeconomic reforms.
Of 2.1 billion in the first quarter alone, largely on the back of robust gold and cocoa exports. And this thing about gold and the structures that are being put in place currently are really defining the fundamentals of this country. When I got appointed, I remember I told His Excellency the President there were two things I thought could stabilize the city, and I'm beginning to see those two things play out. If we block leakages when it comes to the gold sector, and if we block leakages when it comes to remittances, I told His Excellency I will stabilize the city, and I'm seeing just that. So far with the gold board, We believe that smuggling and other leakages will reduce, and the next plan is to also tackle remittance inflows.
Dr. Johnson Isiama is the governor for the Bank of Ghana. And that's all for this edition of the Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Melody Fafa. But up next is Point Blank.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Are you ready to lead like never before?
Ready to master the art of strategy and inspire teams that thrive?
It's the Management Bootcamp 2025.
An exclusive high-impact training for mid to senior pros.
Learn from Ghana's finest industry minds, brought to you by Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi FM.
From the trusted voices of excellence, Citi FM and Channel 1 TV, comes an elite training experience designed to sharpen your strategy, leadership, and communication.
Make a date for the Management Bootcamp 2025 from Sunday the 22nd of June to Saturday the 28th of June 2025. The venue is the Platinum Bay and Passion Base Hotels.
Call 0242-011-424 to register now.
The Management Bootcamp 2025. Lead forward. The Management Bootcamp 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 Citi FM.
Are you feeling tired after a hard day's work? Have you lost your appetite even for your favorite dish? Viral Blood Tonic is a nutritionally balanced, pleasant-tasting tonic fortified with iron and vitamins to boost your appetite and energy levels for high performance. Viral Blood Tonic, easy to take and good for the family. Viral from Danex Iting Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advert is FDA approved.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Welcome back. This is Eyewitness News. Coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Tonight on Point Blank, we'll take you to the Jubilee House because the National Economic Dialogue Planning Committee has presented its final report to President John Dramani Mahama. The committee, chaired by Dr. Ismail Yamson, expressed optimism that the recommendations will support the president's efforts to reset Ghana's economy in the face of global challenges. You remember there was a recent National Economic Dialogue not too long ago. Well, let's hear from Finance Minister Dr. Kesela Toforsen, and then Dr. Ismail Jansen, and then President John Dramani Mahama will follow.
Your Excellency, on the 3rd of February 2025, you announced a set of team led by the famous Ismail Yamson to organize a national economic dialogue. They successfully organized the economic dialogue on the 3rd and the 4th of March 2025. Your Excellency, it is on record that the dialogue was one of the best. The content was quite interesting, and the outcomes were so clear for all of us to witness. Today, exactly 3 months after the conference on the 4th of March, today, 4th of June, they are presenting their report. We are all aware that a lot has changed since then. I recall at the time of the conference, inflation was trending 22%. Today, inflation is 18.4%. That signifies that a lot has happened. At the time, the currency was about 15.5 to the US dollar. Today, we are talking of 10.29. So clearly, a lot has happened since the dialogue. And we believe that it's early days yet and things will even continue to be better. Your Excellency, I introduce you the chairman and his team that organized the National Economic Dialogue. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, in fulfillment of your 120-day social contract with the people of Ghana, you appointed a 7-member planning committee on the 3rd of February 2025 to organize a national economic dialogue. The members of the committee have already been introduced. The mandate of the committee was to communicate the true state of Ghana's economy to the stakeholders and the people of Ghana, develop a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the national budget, and highlight key structural reforms and policy priorities essential for resetting the economy. The dialogue, as we have been told, took place on the 3rd and 4th of March this year. The committee secured participation from all key stakeholders, including but not limited to members of political parties, civil society organizations, academia, students, youth organizations, professional bodies, ministers of state, government appointees, and traditional rulers. The enthusiasm of the participants was overwhelming, and their participation and contributions were of very high quality. The reports and recommendations from the 6 breakaway sections are all captured in this report, which we are just about to present to you, Your Excellency. The breakout sessions focused on 6 thematic areas, namely macroeconomic stability and resetting confidence in Ghana's economy. 2, growth with depth, achieving inclusive and sustainable economic transformation. 3, private sector-led growth, unlocking the full potential of the private sector in national development and economic growth. 4, infrastructure development, addressing the infrastructure deficit for economic transformation. 5, structural and policy reforms, strengthening key sectors for growth. And 6, good governance, accountability, and anti-corruption measures. We are confident, Your Excellency, that you will find the recommendation useful as you lead the Resetting Ghana agenda. We also believe that you will find the recommendations appropriate for the current times of extreme global disruptions and uncertainties, where resilience means self-reliance. We are excited to know that even before we have the opportunity to present the final report to you, some of the key recommendations which were fed into the 2025 budget are already being implemented with spectacular results. The recent rapid recovery of the value of the Citi against major currencies has astounded many people who doubted the government's resolve to reset Ghana and its economy. Naturally, the question being asked is whether this is just a blip, and it is a legitimate question, because our history is replete with many broken promises. However, Your Excellency, we believe that the progress being made now is sustainable, and Ghana can create a macroeconomic environment which is stable and a country which is attractive to investors, both local and foreign, over the medium to long term. What is required is to ensure that the current drive to reverse some of the fundamental variables that create the macroeconomic instability is sustained. Additionally, the recommendations in this report, which relate to other structural reforms, particularly in the energy and cocoa sectors, if executed expeditiously and with passion, should successfully create a stable and prosperous Ghana, different from what we have ever seen in the past. Your Excellency, as it was pointed out in the briefing paper to the committee, countries that have successfully overcome the middle income trap show the importance of a permanent consultative process in which the authorities, the private sector, civil society, and international partners regularly discuss socioeconomic and growth challenges, emerging opportunities and risks, and review salient experiences and policy actions in other countries. This provides timely inputs and feedback to decision makers on implementing strategy and amendments to policies and institutional framework to successfully meet the government's vision. Success will eventually be measured by the government's ability to provide concrete solutions to challenges facing citizens and regaining policy credibility and trust. We wish, therefore, to respectfully request for your consideration that the National Economic Dialogue should be institutionalized into a permanent consultative mechanism. I wish to place on record before I finish the enormous support the committee received from the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Debra, and his team of professionals, which made it possible for us to deliver such a successful and impactful dialogue. We are grateful to you, Your Excellency, for the opportunity to serve you, your government, the people of Ghana, and our country, Ghana. We wish you and your administration success as you implement the recommendations contained in this report.
Ministers of State, members of the National Dialogue Planning Committee, honorable members of Parliament, senior government officials, representatives of organized labor, employers, the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with deep appreciation and a strong sense of national responsibility that I welcome you all to the presidency this afternoon for the formal presentation of the National Economic Dialogue final report. This initiative, which was launched 3 months ago under the theme Resetting Ghana, Building the Economy We Want Together, was conceived as a call to action and a platform for consensus building, realism, and reform. This occasion is significant because it concludes a far-reaching national conversation on our economic future and begins a new phase of implementation rooted in our collective insight and our shared commitment. Let me begin by commending first the Planning Committee and also commending all stakeholders, public institutions, the private sector, trade unions, think tanks, civil society organizations, youth leaders, academia, and our international partners who participated in the dialogue process with candor, technical depth, and a sense of patriotism. Your contributions to the success of the dialogue have been invaluable. When we initiated this dialogue, we were under no illusion about the gravity of the economic crisis we had inherited. Record debt, runaway inflation, high unemployment, and a complete loss of confidence in the economy's governance. The dialogue was therefore not an academic exercise. It was a necessary intervention in order to achieve our agenda to reset. The final report presented today reflects a broad consensus on what needs to be done to stabilize our economy, restore investor confidence, and put our country on a path of inclusive and resilient growth. It offers practical homegrown policy solutions across 10 priority areas. And I want to share briefly how your government is already responding. And the first is restoring fiscal discipline. One of the dialogue's most precise conclusions is that we cannot rebuild confidence in our economy without restoring fiscal discipline and eliminating structural inefficiencies. We have therefore swiftly amended the Public Financial Management Act to introduce a binding debt ceiling aimed at Ghana's debt to GDP ratio, aimed at reducing Ghana's debt to GDP ratio to no more than 45% by 2028. To support this, we are establishing an independent fiscal council by the third quarter of this year to provide professional, non-partisan oversight of the national budget and Borrowing Framework. This body will publish regular assessments to keep the government accountable to the people. The second is energy sector sustainability. The dialogue recognizes growing energy sector liabilities as the greatest existential threat to fiscal consolidation and macroeconomic stability. Our energy sector carries a debt burden of over $3.1 billion with an estimated $1.8 billion more required to finance fuel procurements for uninterrupted thermal power generation in the coming months. If left unaddressed, this situation significantly threatens national productivity and industrial growth. While we have devised a strategy to liquidate this debt and staunch the bleeding in the power sector, we must take advantage of recent gains created by appreciation in the value of our currency to accelerate the solution to our energy sector challenges. In line with the dialogue's recommendation to boldly tackle the crisis in the energy sector, Parliament yesterday approved an amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act and a certificate of urgency, introducing a 1 cedi, Ghana cedi, increase in the energy sector recovery levy. This decision, though difficult, is necessary and justifiable. The additional revenue projected is 5.7 billion cedis annually. This revenue will be strictly ring-fenced to pay down legacy energy debt, finance ongoing fuel purchase, and avert the risk of recurring power shortages. Funds from this levy will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. And the minister is here. I know when money falls into the consolidated fund, it faces certain hazards. It will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. The fund will be regularly audited and audit reports made public to ensure its transparent use. While initially much of this revenue will go into the purchase of fuel to ensure stable supply of electricity, with the ongoing developments in the upstream sector, we expect to receive more gas from our E&I Sankofa and Jubilee and 10 fields. With also the assurance of additional gas through the West African gas pipeline, we expect to substantially reduce the use of liquid fuels in our energy mix. At that stage, the resources generated by this increased levy will be channeled to pay down accumulated legacy debts in the power sector. With the recent gains in macro stability and strengthening of the Ghanaian cedi, this levy is not expected to result in any immediate fuel price increases at the pump. We are fully aware of the burden this will place on households and businesses, but I want to assure Ghanaians that this decision was not taken lightly. Furthermore, the government will continue working to reduce systemic inefficiencies in the energy procurement and distribution sectors, while enhancing targeted social interventions for vulnerable groups. Reforming the tax system for growth and fairness. Another central recommendation of the dialogue was to reform Ghana's overcomplicated distortionary tax regime, which has become both a disincentive to investment and a burden on the ordinary citizen. Accordingly, the government has moved to repeal 4 punitive and counterproductive taxes within the first 90 days of this administration. The electronic transfer levy, which was known as the e-levy tax, the emissions levy, and the betting tax. Additionally, we're undertaking a comprehensive rationalization of the VAT regime to remove cascading effects and restore predictability and fairness in VAT taxes. After stakeholder consultation and parliamentary review, these changes will take effect from September 2025. Our goal is to have a leaner, simpler, pro-business tax framework that supports growth and compliance. Reviving the productive economy. The dialogue reaffirmed that no nation has ever taxed or borrowed its way to prosperity. Therefore, we must refocus national development around production, exports, and value addition. To this end, we're rolling out our flagship 24-hour economy program, targeting agro-processing, logistics, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and public safety sectors. Firms operating in second or third shifts will benefit from fiscal incentives, utility discounts, and labor support schemes.
President John Dramani Mahama. Earlier, you heard Finance Minister Dr. Kesela Tofosin and Dr. Ishmael Yamson, Chairman of the Planning Committee of the National Economic Dialogue. They were at the Jubilee House to present the final report of the National Economic Dialogue to President John Dramani Mahama, and expected to be implemented in the coming weeks, month as well. And this is where we end today's edition of Eyewitness News that came to you live from our studios here in Accra. My name is Sami Wiafe. I was here with Fafa Melody. The show produced by Beverly London and Juliana Odami. Technical support from Daniels Kwashi. Good night.
City News. We speak first. Reach our hotline on 0302 224959 and get interactive on Facebook, City 97.3 FM, and on Twitter at City 973.
94, 95, 96, 97.3 City FM. It doesn't get any better than that.